State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal is with us. She has been there the last 10 nights. It's her district. State Senator, welcome to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Thank you so much for having me.
We met and we're talking outside the Fox tent the other day, and you were really worried. Have some of those fears subsided at least a little bit after maybe what might be a ray of hope from last night?
Well, you know what? I have to tell you, last night was just such a pleasure to see. There were limited incidents that occurred, and I hope that we can maintain our First Amendment rights, the right to assemble and free speech. And if we can continue as we did last night, I think there is a ray of hope.
You do certainly have a right to free speech. You have a right to assemble. You have a right, though. Are you hurting the businesses in that area? Not the ones that were looted, obviously, but the ones where they need the street for the customers to get to. Are you not infringing on their constitutional rights to open up a business and make money?
Well, you know what? That's a great question, and I have two thoughts about that. In fact, just about 2 minutes ago, I was talking to Andy Worm, who is a business owner and has multiple properties in Ferguson. And I was thanking him because he's allowing us to protest on his property, which many folks aren't doing. But yesterday, I have to tell you, when I was going down West Florissant and I saw all of the boarded up businesses, all I was thinking about were the residents who live in Ferguson and who may have jobs at these businesses who can't go to work. And so that does concern me because some of the bad entities that have come in and have looted, they've really done a disservice to themselves and this community by looting.
They've set up this like approved protester zone. Do you think the protesters are going to stay in that zone?
They did last night. You know, I will tell you there are some of the protesters who are saying such things. It's kind of like having a mouse on one of those revolving circular things, and they just keep running in a circle, but they don't go anywhere.
Right.
One of my constituents, gave that as an example of keeping us contained, which is still an infringement. And then there are other people who just are glad that we don't have the Molotov bombs or anything like that. So, I mean, it's really a mixed bag of how people feel, but I think safety is really of our biggest concern, so that we can continue to speak freely.
Senator, what about safety for police officers? We were just talking about this earlier. What are your thoughts on police officers who are there wearing bulletproof vests, helmets, things like that to protect themselves?
Well, there are two things I would say about that. One, I've always been very supportive of our police officers, especially in St. Louis City and the multiple districts that I represent in St. Louis County. And absolutely, officers should be safe. What I oppose are the excessive use of force. And, I was victim to tear gas twice last week, and it was just awful. There was a woman who was 6 months pregnant, who was forced face down to the ground by a police officer. So we have to balance our First Amendment rights with respecting police officers. The third thing I will tell you, there is an element of individuals not from the state of Missouri at all, whose purpose solely was to incite the protesters and to be violent. They are the ones that we've discovered that were trying to attack police officers, which I think after the looting, police officers started blaming protesters, and really the majority of us were just, protesting in peace. But
State Senator,
hopefully we've identified those people.
All right, I got to ask you. So the tear gas comes out after 30 to 35 minutes, I've been told, of asking the protesters to disband. 35 to 40 minutes of strobe lights, 30 to 35 minutes of piercing sound. So you stayed through all that, and then...
No. Well, let me correct you in that. On Monday, which was the first day of the first day of tear gas, and Wednesday of last week, they did not have those sounds. In fact, I told my intern, I was with the Reverend and my intern, and I said, anytime you see the police officers start to move from the QT, that means we need to hurry up and get in our car and leave. So they started going in their bags, putting on their gas masks, and then these big tankers started coming. So we didn't have 30 minutes at all. At all. So if there's the last 2 days, yes, possibly, but I refuse to be tear gassed yet again. But on Monday of last week and Wednesday of last week, that is not the case at all. They did not let us know that they were going to tear gas us. And I immediately, as soon as they started going in their bags and putting those gas masks on their face, we started booking it because I'm the last one who wants to be tear gassed.
All right.
And I was.
Okay, let's get to Robert McCulloch. You're calling for him to step down. Why?
Well, my constituents have conveyed, as you have cited, I've been on the ground since day one, and my constituents just don't trust him. And it's not what my personal belief may be, but it is the belief of this constituency, just because of his record of convictions and other things. There's just a mistrust. So I have to communicate what my constituents, both black and white, want.
Okay, forgetting your constituents for a second, do you believe he would be able to do this fairly?
You know, I know the man's commitment, and I have to be on the side of my constituents. I'm not in this position for myself. I'm in this position for my constituents, and whatever they want. It's one of the easier jobs because you just do what your constituents say to do, and they don't want Bob McCulloch. They don't trust him. And
I'm sure you have
communicate that.
I'm sure you have constituents who trust Robert McCulloch.
Oh, absolutely, but not in this Ferguson community.
Okay, you understand that Governor Nixon has the right to take him off the case, right?
Yes, I do.
Have you been talking to the governor? I know you've had a couple of tweets that have made some national news, but I mean, are you calling on the governor to take the prosecution away from him?
You know, that would be ideal, but let me just tell you what the governor is doing. This is a game he's wanting to play, which I can't believe he's still playing games at, day 12. But he doesn't want to take the blame. If there's not a conviction, he wants the sole responsibility to be on Bob McCulloch. So he's taking the easy way out, I believe, by he has the ability to just say, hey, I'm taking you off the case and reassigning it. But he's not doing it because I don't think he wants to take blame. And so I've been urging my community to call the governor's office. And again, this is another case of the governor just trying not to have blame. I just sat down. I was protesting this morning. I got down to ground zero number 2, and my constituents were already talking about how he has not come to ground zero yet. He's been to the command center. He's been to Florissant. He's been to Umsel and Normandy, but he has yet to come to speak to the people on the ground. And one of my constituents who was out this morning said, you know what? We would protect him. If he's scary about being around folks and he wants to have all these badges around him, all we want is for him to listen to us.
Certainly understandable. I'm short on time, Senator, so I'm cutting you off because there's a couple more things I want to get to. If you have the choice, it seems like, or the governor has the choice of either keeping it with McCulloch or taking it, since that's your choice, which would you rather the governor do? Keep it with Robert McCulloch or take it from him and have the state do it?
Take it from him.
Okay, so you would then ask the governor to take it from Robert McCulloch.
Yes.
Okay. Also in the newspaper today, Chris Koster sends an email to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch saying that Robert McCulloch has handed this off to 2 experienced prosecutors. Even though Bob McCulloch is the county prosecutor, these 2 prosecutors are going to be trying the case. Do you have any confidence in those 2 prosecutors?
Well, I don't know them, but this is an emergency. This is not just an everyday case. This is a huge emergency where civil rights violations have occurred, which the federal government...
How do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know for a fact his civil rights have been infringed upon?
Yeah, when I was tear gassing, I was not allowed to...
Oh, your civil rights were infringed.
And my constituents,
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, yes, but I'm talking about the Michael Brown case.
Because this is an emergency situation, I don't think that Bob McCulloch should be handing it off, but I also don't think that he should be the prosecuting attorney in the case either.
The fact that one of the two highly experienced prosecutors is African American, does that help?
No, that's an excuse. I don't buy into race baiting like that. I look for qualified people.
You look for qualified people, even though you have called for diversity within all sorts of the Ferguson Police Department.
Absolutely. Because that community they have been experiencing so many bad things, not just this year, but for decades. And so that community should be reflective of people who look like them, who understand their culture and their temperament. Just because you're African American, we're more diverse than just all being African American. We have all different likes and dislikes. Just because we're black doesn't mean that we all are cut from the same cloth.
Certainly understandable. But this prosecutor, it looks like you, and I mean, is all the things they talk about the police force to be. This prosecutor, one of two of them is African American. That at least has to give you some hope, right?
I haven't thought about it too much, but what I would say is this community has a mistrust and a distaste for Bob McCulloch and anything that's associated with him. And so, for me, that at first glance, it doesn't mean much because it's still Bob McCulloch, and they don't trust him. They just don't.
Do you think, though, also your constituents, they look to you also to kind of judge how things are going? And do you think that any of your personal feelings against the situation will make them feel otherwise as well?
You know what? It's amazing because I haven't even, since I've been on the ground, at least at the very beginning, I didn't promote who I was. I was just wanting to be with young people and advocate for young people and their rights. And so now that people know, wait, this is our senator. I mean, people are they're thanking me, they're hugging me, they're stopping me, and they're saying there's someone who's advocating for us. And so that's what's making me happy right now is that I am doing my job, and they're so happy that I'm on the ground every single day. I made a commitment to them, and I said, as long as you keep coming, I'll keep coming. And it's unfortunate that we don't have other black leaders, some of which I know who I call friends who have not been on the ground every single day. And it's just so unfortunate. And they're looking for more leadership.
That's State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal. Maria, be safe. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
7:30.